Happy Monday, everybody. Hope you all had a fantastic weekend. It is the FanDuel Live Q&A here for Monday, June 28th, getting you set for MLB DFS for tonight, but also talking some NBA betting later on with Erin Dolan. My name is Jim Sonis. I am a senior writer and analyst for numberFire.com, here to get you set for today's slate of MLB DFS, and it's kind of a wonky one. So feel free to get your questions in no matter where you're watching for today. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, or Twitter, it does not matter. Get those questions in. We'll take them live here on air to get you set for today's slate. If you're watching YouTube, put them in the chat section. We'll take them from Twitter, Twitch, and Facebook as well as always, though. So no matter where you're watching, no matter what question you've got, get those questions in. But also make sure you subscribe because we got Erin today coming up at 4:30 talking NBA betting. Tomorrow, Brandon Gadula swinging by for his usual time. That's at 3:30 on Tuesdays to talk the Rocket Mortgage Classic, both for betting and for DFS. So a lot of good stuff going on here on the FanDuel YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, and Twitter channels. Make sure you are subscribed, but also if you're watching YouTube, hit that like button because that does help us out quite a bit. Okay, preamble over. Let's check out this Monday slate. And like I said, it's kind of a weird one because to me, there are really just two pitchers I want to use for today. Those guys being Lucas Giolito and Freddie Peralta. The problem is Giolito's got some funky weather. We go over here to RotoGrinders and check out the forecast via Kevin Roth, and he says, ruh-roh, not looking so hot in Chicago for today. The heaviest rain moving up by first pitch, according to Kevin, but some potential rain hanging out after that. So go here to the numberFire games and lineups page. Check out what Dark Sky Weather is saying. That is the service that they pull in there. And you can see, confirms what Kevin is saying, where there's a potential for rain even when that initial batch does leave. So there are two pitchers I want to use. One of them may be taken out by rain. Kind of a weird slate. That leaves us with Freddie Peralta being, to me at least, the no-brainer top guy on this slate. Peralta did have a spin rate decrease with the change in the enforcement of the sticky stuff rule, but hasn't affected him. These are over his past 5 starts with about 15% curveball usage, making him effectively 3-pitch pitcher. In that time, Peralta is at a 3.26 skill interactive ERA with a 33% strikeout rate. So he's pitching really well, facing the Cubs, who are good offense. They're below average in WRC+, but they're not a bad offense. But 26% strikeout rate, that's good for his upside, tied for the highest mark on this slate. So I think that Peralta is kind of the one guy you can feel good about after accounting for the potential for some bad weather for Lucas Giolito. So Peralta, to me, easily the top guy on this slate. We'll see how things play out with Giolito. Hopefully he's available to us. If I had like 100 shares to allocate, I would go probably 60-40 in favor of Peralta, but those are the two guys who are standing out to me for today. Let's start things off by talking to Jackie Moon over on Twitch. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope others had better luck than me lately. It's not been too bad, honestly. I feel like I've benefited from some good variants. So hopefully let's send out the good luck vibes out to Jackie for today to get Jackie on a winning track for this week. Sean on Facebook, DeSclafani in a GPP. If I were to list out a value play for today who I would like the most, that guy would be Anthony DeSclafani, and I don't feel good about using him. I want to be fully clear about that, Sean. I think that he is the best value play for today. So if you want to use a value, DeSclafani is $8,300. That is $1,200 cheaper than Peralta. He would be my top guy. The reason I would rank him high is that he's a 3.37 skill interactive ERA over his past 5 starts with less movement, 27% strikeout rate. He did this against a very good Los Angeles Angels team last week. Now faces the Dodgers, pretty much back to full health. Really tough spot here for DeSclafani. The matchup is the reason why I would not personally want to use it. But with that said, if I get Giolito taken off my plate, then I kind of got to go somewhere unless I'm just going fully in on Freddie Peralta. So, Sean, I think that he is worthwhile for today. I am going to try not to use him personally, but if I were to give you a value play I felt best about below Peralta at $9,500, DeSclafani would be that guy. So I don't know if that helps to say that I don't really want to use him, but even my favorite guy down there, but hopefully that helps. That's my thoughts on DeSclafani for today. Kyle, do you like a Boston stack since Duffy is on a pitch count? So Duffy has gone 45 and 15 in his 42 and 15 in his 2 outings since he came back from the injured list. He's looked pretty good, so not looking to get that. Let's check out the Royals bullpen here to see what we're working with there in terms of what we should expect after Danny Duffy leaves the game. Let's put on that, toggle to active rosters. The Royals bullpen has a 4.24 ERA so far this year. The batted ball data against them, let's see if there's some fly ball guys. 39% fly ball rate, and they let up a 42% hard hit rates. They do let up some impactful contact. They're not the best bullpen by any means. I do think that the Red Sox grade out well as a result of that. The one concern I would have, Kyle, is that I think they're going to be popular. Let's pull up the numberFire heat map here and check out what the betting lines are saying here, because the Red Sox implied total is very high, 6.04, highest in the slate. I think that they are overrated in terms of that. So I would bet that the popularity on Boston is higher than it should be for today. So I think that getting exposure to them is fine. But personally, I would not be shocked if I wind up being underweight on them, just because I do respect Duffy for when he's out there, and because the Red Sox are good, but like they're not like, I don't know. I feel like there are other stacks I like more for today. DJ, is Taylor Trammell worth a look at while he is on this roll when he does play his next game, which is tomorrow versus Toronto? Tomorrow he's facing Robbie Ray. So no, Robbie Ray is very good. I would bump out of that one. Cal is stacking the Mets and going Freddie Peralta. I'm on board with that, Cal. I love it. Let's get all aboard the Freddie Peralta train. And the Mets facing Pablo Espino starting for the Nationals, probably not going to go super deep. So you're banking on the bullpen. I'm not as big of a Mets guy as Cal is, but hey, when has Cal ever led us astray? Let's talk to Michael over on YouTube. The Astros lineup is out. Okay, so thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Let's go over here and refresh one more time to get that lineup up for the Astros. Altuve, Brantley, Gurriel, Alvarez. Oh, Kyle Tucker's. That's not surprising. Okay, Miles Straw, Robel Garcia, Martin Maldonado. So as Michael mentioned, there is no Abraham Toro for today. Toro had moved up to 7th in the order, or he'd moved up $2,700. So he was like getting a little bit spendy. So I think the main question here we have here for the Astros is, can we use Miles Straw batting 7th? Let's check out Straw's salary over here on FanDuel. Pull up the Astros as a team and scroll down to Miles Straw, $2,400. He does have stolen base upside. And when we looked at him last week, he was starting to hit the ball a bit with a bit more authority. So what I want to see is, has that continued? Has he continued to make better contact recently than he was before? We go to the StatCast data and we see that getting some decent exit velocities. You know, it's not terrible. I will say that. Let's check out here. Let's say the past 2 weeks. So 2 weeks ago, doing some math, is the 14th. So let's go 15th here to now. He does have 3 of his 4 barrels for the season that time. His average exit velocity is 90.7 miles per hour, 16 hard hit balls out of 38 events. That's not too bad. In that time, his isolated slugging is at 133, which is about double what it was before. I don't think it's stupid to use Miles Straw for today. So let's actually plug him in here, batting 7th. I'm going to go back to the pitching tab and put Freddie Peralta in there. And let's do that. My guess is that actually $3,300 isn't too bad. So let's go Kyle Tucker instead of Yuli Gurriel as our second guy within this stack. I love Tucker's upside, stolen bases, dingers, gotta love it. And then we'll pick 2 studs to lock in here with the Astros. Okay, let's sort here by plate appearances and check out who's swinging a good bat versus righties. It is Correa and Altuve for the most part as the higher upside guys within this team. So, and Brantley's been better since he came back. And obviously, Yordan Alvarez, pretty solid too. Probably going to lean towards Altuve and Correa just because I tend to have a tougher time filling second base and shortstop than I do outfield. $4,200, quite a bit. Alvarez is 37. So I guess after considering his salary, I'd probably go with Alvarez over Correa, which would give me like, these are the top 4 guys of the Astros. I'm probably higher on Tucker than most. I just tend to love him personally. So I think that's where I'd be sitting for right now, is looking at these guys as the key cogs to a Houston stack. But I would say Correa very much works. Gurriel very much works. Totally down for those guys as well. And Brantley too. So I know it's not super helpful, but if I'm ranking the studs on Houston, I'm going to go Altuve 1, Alvarez 2, Correa 3, Tucker 4, Brantley 5, and then both Gurriel and Straw, pretty solid value plays for today. Let's talk to Clinton on YouTube. Can you give advice on the Arizona bats? Depends on who's out there. We have not seen a lineup as of yet. The problem that I have here, Clinton, is I don't know who's going to play, because Eduardo Escobar, apparently the White Sox trade is getting closer to happening, so I kind of doubt he plays, and that takes one more impactful bat out of this lineup. Ketel Marte is banged up. Christian Walker, he works for sure. Could get his Dribble Cabrera in there, depending on what they decide to do. So I think what I would do, Clinton, is wait until the lineup is out. If we, for some reason, get both Ketel Marte and Eduardo Escobar in there, then I think that the Diamondbacks work for stacking. If both of them are out, I would probably avoid everyone, including potentially Walker as a one-off, because they might just be terrible. So base it on the lineup and base it around whether Marte and Escobar play for today. Troy, David Fletcher or Josh Harrison on, not sure what that stands for. Again, Troy right here, baby. But let's just talk in general about David Fletcher versus Josh Harrison. Fletcher is facing Michael King. I think the Angels definitely work for today. Not a big Fletcher guy, though. So let's check out the Nationals facing Jared Eichhoff. Eichhoff coming up from AAA. Didn't have the best marks down in AAA, if I recall correctly. I'm not a huge Fletcher fan, but let's just check out the numbers for Harrison here versus specifically righties and see what he's working with from a power perspective. 097 ISO. Yee. Let's go check out Fletcher instead and see what that looks like. Fletcher versus righties, 056. I try to avoid both if you can, Troy. My preference to be Harrison, but I'm not super into either personally. Jerry, good day, Jim. Good day, Jerry. How do you feel about the Angels and the Mets and the Yankees? I like Eli Morgan right now. How do you feel about him? So let's start there with Morgan. I am not into him personally. He's getting strikeouts. So when you look at the numbers I have up on the sheet, he looks fine. The problem is I don't believe those numbers. So I'll sometimes get questions about like posting this sheet up on wherever it may be. Part of the reason I don't do that is because if you look at just the numbers, it lacks a lot of context. And the context with Morgan is that it's just a 3-start sample and his results have been terrible, both in the major leagues and the minor leagues. His swinging strike rate is 12.8%. Let's check out his CSW percentage, which is called strikes looking, or called strikes plus strikes swinging. And plate discipline, CSW is 30%. That's actually a little bit above average. So he's probably going to get strikeouts, and Detroit will strike out. So I think the thought process there, Jerry, makes sense. The reason that I'm scared is because this number right here, 47% hard hit rate allowed, 50% fly ball rate. That's why the ERA is 10.32. His expected ERA is 6.42. So I probably would not go at Morgan for today. I think that for me, it's a very narrow tree of pitcher for today. And then I like the Angels stack. The Mets are facing Paolo Espino. It's going to be a kind of a bullpen game for the Nationals. Espino, he pitched in relief. I think he went like 42 pitches or so back on Friday-ish or somewhere around there. Not a big Mets fan for tonight. And then the Yankees, totally good with them against Bundy. So thumbs up on the Angels and the Yankees. Not super into Morgan personally. Mets are okay. Nick, let's talk to Nick over on Facebook. Is Keston Hiura for Milwaukee an okay pickup? I'm not a great season-long person. I've gotten duped by Hiura a couple times. So, he's a good player. It's always about the strikeouts. So check out the strikeout numbers on Hiura recently and see what those are looking like. If he's cutting back in the strikeouts, sick. Let's do it. If not, Alvin, any changes to your top 3 stacks? No, I still like the top 3 for today. So the top 3 for me today, the Yankees were number 3 as I try to re-dissect what they were. Royals were 2, Astros were 1. So it's Astros, Royals, Yankees. if you're looking for higher salaried stacks, the Angels are up there with the Astros for me. So Astros, Angels among the higher salary teams, Yankees among the middle teams, the Royals highest among the low salary teams. I do like the Tigers against Morgan as like another lower salary team to potentially target for today if you need some salary relief there. So pretty much the same thing for me, Alvin, for right now. Troy, can we get any value out of a catcher? Again, Troy, what are these foul words coming out of your fingers here? I don't know. But let's talk about hypothetical catchers you could use. I don't want to totally isolate you, Troy, because glad you're here. But let's talk hypothetically about some catchers because I am very much someone who likes using catchers for today. I'm guessing Gary Sanchez will not fit your salary constraints, but I do like him quite a bit against Dylan Bundy. Max Stassi is actually pretty good versus righties. I know we think of him as being like a lefty banger, but he's pretty good against righties too. Let's see if he's in there for the Angels for today. Do not see him yet. Okay, so not looking there yet. Obviously, Salvador Perez, probably not going to fit your salary constraints, but tremendous option who I do like overall for today. Let's see here. Probably not going at the Diamondbacks. Probably not going at Molina. Yeah, so I think that the main catchers I would be focusing on for today, if you were in a terrible, terrible world where you're forced to use a catcher, Yan Gomes actually does grade out pretty well for me too against Jared Eichhoff. So Yan Gomes, Max Stassi if he's in there, Gary Sanchez, and Salvador Perez, top catchers if you were to need one for today, just on the off chance. Let's talk to DJ. Whoopsies. Let's talk to Conrad. Arizona bats for savings. Yeah, again, it kind of depends on who winds up being in there. If we can get Marte and Escobar in there, sweet. I'm down, but I don't know if they'll be in there, and that's kind of my concern with them for right now. Jackie, which game would be your favorite to stack? Sorry if I missed it. My internet cuts in and out. I've not mentioned my favorite game to stack, but I don't tend to do much with game stacks overall for MLB. That's mostly like an NBA and an NFL thing. But hypothetically, games where I like both sides, Angels, Yankees, to me, pretty easily number one there. I can talk myself into both those teams easily. The reason that the Angels were not my top three stacks this morning is because they're high salaried. And if I'm going to shove Peralta at you and shove the Astros at you, I can't have another high salaried stack in there. So to me, if you're looking for one game that grades out really well for stacking on both sides, Yankees, Angels would be that game for me. Kyle, who are you targeting for a Yankees stack tonight? Good question, Kyle. Okay, let's go over here, check out the Yankees lineup, see if there are any surprises here. Looks pretty straightforward. Okay, so let's go over to the Yankees and pull up their numbers versus righties. It's going to be Luke Voigt. I can guarantee you he'll be in there. Don't need to look for that. But so let's go over here and take out the Astros, keep Peralta in there because that's the constraint we're working with. And then let's put in Voigt because he's the big no-brainer. Whoopsies. For me for today. What did I click there? Oh, I clicked outfield. Oh, stupid. Okay, let's go to Voigt. Put him in first. Okay, 32.71 left for the rest of the lineup. The question is, can I use Gio Urshela at $3,000 as being another value play here? Gio Urshela, 145 ISO versus righties. That has come down from where it was earlier on this year. Let's pull open his game logs here to see how things have been trending there. And let's check out the past 2 weeks for Urshela. So this goes back to the 14th. Past 2 weeks is pretty arbitrary, but whatever. We got to set the cutoff somewhere. Past 2 weeks, his ISO is 200. That does include a game where I believe he took a lefty deep. But let's do this here as well and check out that. So a 36% hard hit rate, average exit velo of 86.7. Let's check out the batted ball numbers. A lot of ground balls. So if I can skip over Urshela, I will try to. So let's put Sanchez in there, and let's go with Judge and Stanton. And I think that should work here. The problem is we're not going to be able to use this specific stack if we're going with the Astros as our second stack. So I would like to, this would be my optimal stack here for the Yankees, but if you need to save some salary, I would be okay lopping off Judge or Stanton and going with Urshela as the other option there. I'm a bit annoyed with the with the numbers, but I still think that he's worth including in there to get access to what I think is a very good team for today. DJ, Yankees, Cleveland, Red Sox, Astros. Who would be a better stack with using either Hendricks or Bundy as your pitcher? I'd be very wary of Bundy, given the recent numbers for him since the spin. He's actually just lost velocity. It's not spin rate. He's lost velocity. I also wouldn't use the Yankees against him. Hendricks, just not a big strikeout guy, but hypothetically with him, I would say Astros would be 1, Yankees 2, and then probably Red Sox 3, Cleveland 4, or Greinke as a pitcher. Greinke also doesn't get strikeouts, so I'm not going there either. Mike, hello from Kalamazoo, Michigan. Okay, nice. The Northwoods League in hot action over there in Kalamazoo. Thoughts on Arizona bats for tourney entries, Christian Walker, etc. Yeah, so I think that I would say it depends on the lineup once again. If you can get Marte and Escobar in there, I'll feel okay about them. I just don't think they're going to play personally. So, Mike, if they're in there, good to go. If they're not in there, I'd be very wary of that entire team. Troy, do you see a world where Washington would be a nice stack tonight on FanDuel? Good catch, Troy. Proud of you. You're making great progress. I'd love to see it. Okay, so Washington is facing off with Jared Eichhoff. Just mentioned the Northwoods League with Mike. Jared Eichhoff, Northwoods League alum from the Wisconsin Woodchucks. Go Chucks. Eichhoff, definitely a guy you can stack against. So yeah, Troy, I think that you can definitely justify stacking the Nationals. The reason they're not super high for me is because they don't hit for a lot of power. So I try to avoid stacking them, but if it's like a 3-player stack with Turner, Soto, and Kyle Schwarber, I think that those 3 guys work for sure. Diffuse, how do you feel about the Angels? Just topped in. Sorry if I already answered. I talked about them tangentially. So that's actually a pretty good question there, Diffuse. I think that I am on board with them. I do want to see what their lineup looks like, because that will dictate part of it, aka hopefully Ohtani's in there. I think the Angels work. The only constraint is salary, and I'm trying to spend $9,500 or more at pitcher for tonight. So that's the only constraint for me with regards to them is salary. They're the number 2, like strictly high salaried stack behind the Astros for today. Let's see here. Let's talk to Jerry. Schwartz and Scope home run call. Grand Slam Voit, I am calling it. Who you got? Okay, so Scope hitting the ball really well. Totally understand it. I can't push back on that one too much. Voit, I would say, is probably going to be near the top of my list. The official home run calls from this morning were Aaron Judge, and who is the other one? Pretty sure it was from was it an Astro? I don't actually recall who my other home run call was. It was supposed to be a fun one. I'm trying to remember who my second home run call was. Oh, it was Ryan O'Hearn. Was it Ryan O'Hearn? Let's make it Ryan O'Hearn if it wasn't a Ryan O'Hearn. So we're going to go with Aaron Judge is the boring one and Ryan O'Hearn. It worked last week with O'Hearn, so let's run it back one more time and do it again with Ryan O'Hearn. So the official home run calls for me for today are Ryan O'Hearn and Aaron Judge. Jackie, did you see the guy who won $35,000 on a $5 MLB parlay? Need that in my life desperately. Parlays don't work out very well for me. I'm not as anti-parlay as a lot of people because as long as each individual bet is a good bet, parlays are fine. I think what people sometimes do is they just toss a bunch of random stuff in there and try to see if they can, hit on it to get the better odds. I can't do that personally, but if they're good bets individually, I can get it, but not really my style all that much with parlays. But hey, if it works out for you, it works out for you. Michael, who would you prioritize in the stack? Oh, actually, Michael also mentioned that Akil Baddoo is my other home run call. I'm going to stick with that. So let's just make it 3 home run calls because I like the Baddoo one too. I think he's batting leadoff for today. So we've got Akil Baddoo, Ryan O'Hearn, and Aaron Judge. 3 home run calls for today. Is it a cop-out? Sure. I don't care. It's my show. We can do a cop-out if we want. So cop-out, yes. Do I care? No. Who would you prioritize in a Kansas City stack? We got Soler, Santana, Perez, O'Hearn, Emmanuel Rivera. Do not know a lot about him. Let's look him up here. Actually, let's check out to make sure he's in the player pool first because that would be annoying to talk about him and realize he's not in there. Okay. Emmanuel. Whoops, he's not in there. Or did I spell it wrong? Nope, he's not in there. So we can't use him. Okay. So glad I saved myself the time. Other guys in there for the Royals, Hunter Dozier, I can get behind. So I would say O'Hearn is number one because of the salary. And I like the power too. So O'Hearn's number one. I would probably go Perez 2. He's a little bit higher salary, but I think he's worth it. I would wind up going Jorge Soler number 3, Whit Merrifield 4, Carlos Santana number 5, and then Hunter Dozier number 6. I am comfortable using any of those 4 guys. That's what I would say there. Comfortable with them, or 6 guys. I am okay with all of them. Very on board for sure. Would Luke Williams be a decent home run call? Okay, so he's facing Wade Miley, not on the main slate, so he doesn't count for my purposes. Miley, though, is good at contact suppression, so he's not really fitting what I look for when it comes to home run calls. Ernie Clement, let's check it out. Okay, so Ernie Clement, let's pull up the numbers here over on FanGraphs, and 25 years old. Just got called up to the 26-man roster today. AAA, 145 ISO, not a big power guy, not a big fly ball guy. Doesn't seem to be a guy who will have a ton of upside for DFS, so probably not someone we need on our radar for right now. Let's talk to Closo. What's a stack you think may go overlooked? Cleveland seems pretty nice, but all popularity looks to be on Houston and the Yankees. The reason I was lower on Cleveland is because they're higher salary than I would like them to be. Let's pull up the numbers here for them. And go to utilities so we can see all their hitters. Like they got jacked up really fast. And like the one salary saver I had was Josh Naylor, and like, that stinks. He's that whole situation just stinks for him. So I wind up being lower on Cleveland just because they're kind of in the same salary range as the Yankees, and I just prefer the Yankees. But let's look for some stacks here that may go overlooked that I do think grade out decently well. I think that St. Louis is not the worst stack. I think that the Angels are a pretty good stack too. The Royals against Richards, just teams with, looking middling implied totals. If we're looking for teams with middling implied totals that may go overlooked, I would say Royals, Angels, potentially the Cardinals, potentially the Tigers as being teams you could turn to as being a bit overlooked for today. Jackie, I'm in the same boat. They don't work out for me, but I keep jumping on the boat. Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, they're fun, Jackie. You look at the parlay, you look at the cash out, and you see like what the potential payout is. I get it. Totally understandable. Totally understand where you're coming from. Just not for me, but I get where you're coming from for sure. Michael, which Tigers do you like aside from Badu? So it's Badu for sure. Definitely number one for me. I just love the salary for him. Love the upside that he has. I know he hasn't been getting as much like buzz recently, but like the overall numbers for him is still really good. But let's sort here. Daz Cameron is, I think, batting 5th, if I recall. Early numbers on him, pretty high upside. So he's like $3,500 or something like that. So not a salary saver, but someone I'd be okay using. Scope, the ISO overall is not super high, but it's been a lot higher recently. So can definitely be okay with that. Let's pull up the salaries here for the Tigers against Morgan. Scope's 32. That's not bad. Cameron's 34. A little high. Robbie steals a lot of bases. Not the biggest power guy. 131 ISO with 7 steals. That might be enough to justify it at $3,000. Miguel Cabrera. 093. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. Candelario, Castro, and I believe other Castro is batting. Okay, 7th. Okay, so let's check out the other guys here. Candelario, 114 ISO, no steals. Meh. Willie Castro, 164 ISO. I'm pretty sure he's batting 8th. Yeah, he's batting 8th. He's been hitting the ball pretty well recently. So, I don't know. I think maybe you could give him the sniff there. No Mazzara for today. So, I would say Badu is number 1. I would say Daz Cameron's number 2. Then I would go Scope, Robbie, and then I probably actually bumped down to Castro just because like he has a couple paths to upside. So I would be looking there. Final 2 questions. Jason, Brewer stack versus Hendricks. No, doesn't get enough strikeouts, but also does a good job of suppressing our contact. So not going to stack against him despite the fact I am not going to use as a pitcher for today. Jackie, Cardinals have to be due. They've been so bad lately. Yeah, they're facing Faria, and I think that Faria, he was good in AAA, but getting stretched out once again, I think that I would, it's probably not super high on them for this one, but I think that they're fine. DJ's on Willie Castro's home run call. I like that. And then Jerry, what do you think about playing 2 players from each stacking team with Bauer as the pitcher? Bauer is kind of high salaried for me. He's fine. He can have good games. I'm just a little bit too high salaried. So he'd probably still wind up being I think the rankings are Peralta, Giolito, Bauer, DeSclafani for today. So he's fine, but I'd be okay passing over him personally for right now. That is going to do it for the MLB DFS side of things for today here on the FanDuel Live Q&A. But just like last week, do not forget, we got more coming up right now. Erin Dolan's going to come on and talk some betting, more NBA coming up for tonight, which should be a whole lot of fun. So let's bring Erin on to the stream right now to get you set for tonight's game, on the NBA side of things. Erin, how's it going? How's your weekend?
My weekend was great, Jim. How was yours?
It was fantastic. I actually watched some basketball, which is a rarity for me because I know not nothing, but very little about it. So the games were so good. I actually tuned in. So
good.
I don't know if it's because of your analysis.
You handle the MLB because that's what I struggle to watch.
Right. So maybe it's your analysis is drawing me in to actually get me to watch this. I don't know. Either way, I was drawn in. What are you thinking for tonight?
Very, very split on tonight. I have a feeling the Suns are just going to go out there and dominate, but then I look at the numbers and the Clippers could cover, but I'm going to go with the Suns definitely to take this game.
Okay, so Erin is on the Suns. Jackie says that he needs good luck. So I'm going to send you over to them, Erin. Good luck for tonight, and I'll talk to you again tomorrow.
Yeah, sounds good. See you tomorrow. Hey guys, how's everybody doing? Great to be back on this live stream. As you know, last week I jumped on with Jim 2 days, I believe. And now we're going to be doing this every day that we possibly can. So Monday through Friday right now. But we have a big game 5 tonight. We have the Clippers versus the Suns, game 5. Very, very excited for this matchup. So we're going to get right into it. You guys can comment any of the questions that you have below, but I'm kind of going to run through some of the numbers, where we're seeing money come in, where we're seeing bets come in, and all that type of jazz. So currently right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook, as you can see, the Clippers are getting 5.5 points, while the Suns are laying 5.5 points. As for the total, 211. That number continues to move down. It actually just moved down 2 points. So this line opened 215, moved to 213, and literally just changed 5 minutes before I just came on to 211. So that total continues to move down. Obviously, after last game, when nobody could make a basket, it kind of makes sense. Plus, the under has hit 5-1 in the last games between these two teams. So something else to keep in mind there. But this is going to be obviously a great, great game because the Suns could be able to go to the NBA Finals if they win this game. It will be the first time since 1993. I was not even born yet. I had 3 more years until I was coming into this world. But as for the Clippers, this could be the final game before they're packing it all up, going home. A lot of conversation is around Paul George, and if he is really tired from playing 41 minutes, as we know, Kawhi Leonard is not going to be coming back for this game. And last game that Paul George played in, he shot 5 for 30 from the 3-point range. And in the last 3 games, he has done that 5 for 30. So in terms of the last 3 games, he has looked very, very tired. And of course, will be carrying the team on his back. But let's get into some questions if you have any. It's Mr. Jackie Moon said if Zubac is out and Ayton will have his way in the paint. Very true. I did just see that broke about 30 minutes ago saying that he is questionable with a little MCL sprain from what I saw tweeted out by Rachel Nichols of ESPN. So that's definitely something that we're going to have to take into account for tonight, because one of the props that I had for tonight was on him and his rebounds. And of course, now I'm probably going to have to take the under on that, especially since he's questionable, but he's had a good impact on the game. As for Ayton, he's been obviously absolutely great for this team. But the one thing that I was reading today, which was actually very interesting, was that he's had great net rating in the first half of games. And then come the second half of the games, the Suns have either not been using him, kind of facilitating the ball to Chris Paul or Devin Booker. And just in general, he hasn't had a great second half performance just because they weren't really facilitating the ball to him in any shape, way, or form. But he has had a double-double in the last 2 games. So keep that in mind in terms of his player props. I'm sure we'll get into some of those. Jerry Winter says, take the 5 points and the under. If Phoenix wins, they win by 3 or 4. What you think? So considering last game, Suns won by 4. And then, of course, in that game 3, the Clippers were able to, I wouldn't call it a blowout, but essentially to the Suns kind of blew them out. The Suns won by 1 point in game 2, won by 6 points in game 1. So it's kind of all over the map. For me, I feel like since it's such a do or die situation for the Clippers, it could be a much closer game, but then I also factor in Chris Paul and Devin Booker playing at home. We know Chris Paul didn't play in those first 2 games in the playoffs at home. I think both those players could go off. Obviously, we know Devin Booker had that issue with the mask, and I think that kind of did factor into his playing style for some time. In terms of that one game, last game, he didn't end up wearing it. But everyone's taking the under. We can actually look at the money right now. If you look on OddsFire, 53% of the people are taking the money on the under, and then 51% of the bets are on the under as well. That line continuing to move down. Even though this looks like it's split right now, this line was leaning. These numbers are constantly updating. That's why I mentioned right when I started off that more money and bets were coming in on the under. But I guess now that the line's moving down, you'll start seeing that people will start pounding the over and kind of move that line around until it settles somewhere where people like it. But I think saying I'm definitely taking the under is kind of a hard thing to say, just because of one, all the trends are leaning towards the under. Everyone's betting it to the under. And it's like, at what point do we take this line? I think this could be a high scoring game if both teams go out there and see positive regression from last game, because as we know, nobody was scoring any baskets last game. So we will have to see in terms of that. But let's see, any more questions? What would you choose for betting for the Canadians? Parlay, straight up props. So for hockey, it's interesting. You think you know all these sports, and you think that hockey would be, let's say, the fourth one. You have the NFL, NHL, NBA, and just some of the other major sports. NHL actually ranks pretty low in terms of what people bet on. So if I was betting on this, I'm not going to bet, and I'm kind of switching gears here because I know I'm supposed to be talking about the NBA, but just wanted to say that I would definitely bet in terms of putting things in parlays. Like I would just throw the Tampa Bay Lightning as game 1 into a parlay. I wouldn't take the Canadians in game 1 away from home, but when the Canadians go home, then that's going to switch, of course, that line. And I would say take the Canadians at home, but this will be a good series. As you know, you can bet on this right now in terms of series, player futures, team futures, and obviously game 1, that will be tonight. But let's keep to NBA because that is my specialty and that is what I love for tonight. We're getting questions about all things, getting questions and comments about MLB as well. Reds, Phillies. The Phillies, I'm a Phillies fan. As you can see, I have Harry Callis. Awarded him up there. They've been absolutely terrible, so we're not going to talk about the Phillies because they've been terrible. All right. Maybe a high score because of elimination possibilities. I agree. So everyone's kind of commenting in here about the NHL. We're going to switch back to NBA, people. But let's go through some of the trends. So since I was mentioning that the line was moving down towards the under, and I also mentioned that the line has moved down from the Suns. It opened 6.5, now 5.5, as you can see right now on the screen. Some trends to keep in mind. I read this one on the Action Network this morning, which was very interesting. 5 and 7 of the conference finals are 12 and 5 against the spread, covering by an average margin of 4.29 points. As for the spread, some trends to keep in mind. Clippers 5 and 1 against the spread in their last 6 Monday games. Some people really like day trends. I'm not the biggest person on it, but there's one for you. The Suns are 5 and 1 in the last 6 games as a home favorite and 9 and 2 against the spread in their last 11 overall. That's why part of me wants to say, okay, let's just take the Clippers because this is definitely an elimination game for them. But then when I read 9 and 2 against the spread in the last 11 overall for the Suns and then playing back home, it's very enticing there. As for the total, some trends, unders 5 and 1 in the Suns' last 6 games played on 1 day's rest, in the Suns' last 6 conference finals games as well. If again, like I mentioned, the day trends, the over is 5 and 0 in the Suns' last 5 Monday games. As for the Clippers, the over is 4 and 0 in the last 4 as a dog, 5 and 1 in the Clippers' last 6 overall, head to head between these two. 5 and 1 in the last 6 meetings, trending towards the under. So I feel like a lot of people are going to be going with the under again, why it's being pushed down. All right, let's see. Might be Reggie Jackson's last game under contract, so expect him to go all out tonight. Yes, I actually like him in terms of the player prop for points. So he scored 19 or more points in each of the games in the series. He had 23 points in game 3. I like the over for him. Let's see if that line's been moving up at all. Here we go. It's at 19.5. So I mentioned this last week as well, and his points prop was around 18.5. Obviously, they're moving it up because he's been able to hit over this. So I really like him in terms of the player points, especially because Kawhi Leonard's not going to be in this game, and he's had to step up and have some points. Now, another player prop that I liked in terms of rebounds, but now I can't give it out as a definitive one that I want to take, 10.5 for Zubac. So he's had double-digit rebounds. He's averaging 14 points for the last 3 games. He's had 14 rebounds last game, 16 rebounds in game 3. So I liked over 12.5. 12 plus rebounds. Oh, they took it. There we go. Plus 150. So earlier today, it was plus 176 when I was writing my notes. It's already moving down, but it was doing that at the time before it was announced that he might be, missing parts of the game since he is questionable with that MCL sprain to the right knee. But all of his markets are still available right now, which to me screams that he will actually be playing this game. So for me, I wanted to say take the over on a lot of his rebound props and just his props in general. But given that he does have that MCL sprain, I am a little cautious about playing him in any markets right now. But sometimes I feel like, and maybe I'm completely wrong, that teams do this right before games to kind of throw people off. And the line hasn't moved at all in terms of when this news was announced, but some of his player props have remained pretty consistent. All right, let's see other things that I like. This was a random plus money that I thought could hit. So let me find him. Okay, Cameron Payne assists. Let's see. So this right now, this switched as well. He had a prop of plus money for, let me go for, let's see if it was in here. Okay, yeah. To record 4+ assists, Cameron Payne plus 140. This was plus 138 a little bit ago, so it's moving up. He's averaging 5.5 assists this series. So I felt like at plus money, that was actually pretty good to record 4+ assists. Again, averaging 5.5 assists this series. So I kind of liked that. I know, obviously, for some of the big players like Paul George, Devin Booker, you want to take these markets, but there's no value in some of these players, obviously, to record X amount of assists, rebounds, points. It really just depends on the player. So kind of finding some at plus money might be beneficial for you. Funny comment, Raphael Snell, but I will not comment on that. All right. Also for tonight, we have some odd boosts that are available. One just went up and one has already been posted on the FanDuel Sportsbook in terms of Twitter and Instagram. Dr. Disrespect Super Boost, Devin Booker to score 25+ points and Phoenix to win game 5. That's at plus 170. This one just went up a couple minutes ago. Paul George to score 35+ points in game 5 versus Phoenix, plus 380. So boosted up there almost by 70 points there. Another thing is, obviously, you can hit on these super boosts and it'll tell you what's here. But if you do go to the promotions tab, there are some other boosts that you can take advantage of. For example, NBA playoffs enhanced odds, 30-1 on any team to win their next game for new customers. I always feel like, guys, when you see these, just text all your friends, people that aren't even signed up on the book, get them to get on, use this. You can put $5 on it. You're obviously going to win about 150, this and that, if you use this promo. And then we have the risk-free same game parlay promo as well. For those that are maybe new to FanDuel or just tuning in for the first time, one cool thing that FanDuel has is a same game parlay. So you can wager on a ton of different things and make your own same game parlay. And we will at some point in this show definitely do that. And I want to hear what you guys would add into your same game parlay. Please comment them below so that I can kind of add it in. We always want to try to get the best odds that we can. The same game parlays are to have those crazy, crazy odds. And speaking of that, I'll actually show you one that hit. So this was 2 nights ago for this game. And as you can see, this person put $10 on, ended up winning over $1,300, which was awesome. They took the under, Chris Paul under, Devin Booker under. Basically, all these unders were hitting. The only over that hit was Paul George over 8.5 rebounds. But other than that, everybody was going under. As we know, nobody was really scoring points in that game. Now, aside from the same game parlay, again, unique to FanDuel, you're not going to be able to do that on any other sports book. We have this insane parlay in general that I wanted to bring up because this is crazy. $5 over $34,000. As you can tell, this is all on Major League Baseball. But I mean, talk about just what a day. Put $5 on something, $34,000. What would you guys comment below what you would do with that money? Because I don't even know what I would do with $34,000 at that time. Like, do you just put it all in Bitcoin? Do you go shopping? Do you go on vacation? I don't even know what I would do with that amount of money just dropped right into my account. But we might as well, now that we kind of talked through some of the same game parlays, make one together. Let's see. I had it, but I must have exited out of my same game parlay. So we're going to have to go back to the drawing board and do one together. So let's see. Or actually, why don't I run through, I did mention the Zubac rebounds. I like the under now for him. Reggie Jackson over 19 points. Okay, Cameron Payne. I did mention all of those. Another thing I wanted to mention in the popular tab real quickly before we make one, top points scorer. So I actually like Devin Booker for this at plus 165. He's averaging 25 points in this series. Paul George is obviously favored minus 120 in this, and he's averaging 28 in this series. But I just kind of have a feeling Devin Booker is going to go off at home. And I think seeing Paul George be so fatigued, obviously they've had a day of rest, but that's something that I'm reading in a lot of articles about how tired he is from playing 41 minutes of action average in this series and whatnot. So definitely something to keep in mind there. All right. Let's make a same game parlay, people. Now, you could take a lot of favorites in the same game parlay just to try to get better odds, or you can go the route that I like to go, which is try to find anything at plus money that you think is going to kind of beef up the same game parlay, because I feel like that's the fun part of it. So let's see. These are assists. Let's not go into there. I'm trying to remember right now what my same game parlay was because I had it all written out and I exited out. Okay, I'm starting off with the first basket. So my same game parlay can absolutely blow up right from the start, but I don't care because it's playoffs. Let's have fun. I'm going with Ayton as the first basket. The win margin, I want to take the Suns 11 plus. I think that they come out and they just dominate. I think we think that the Clippers are going to be able to do it and pull it off, but I just don't think they're going to be. And plus, again, same game parlay is supposed to be fun, beef it up. I'm not taking all my favorites here. So right now we are at plus 1255. We can do better than that. Double result. I'm going to go Phoenix Suns. I know that's minus money, but that didn't really do much for us there. Didn't do much. Let's see. Let's also talk about the first half spread. First half. We'll get back to this, but quickly, that's one thing that just popped in my head. In terms of the first half spread, the Suns covered game 4. That's right now minus 3.5. But the Clippers covered this number game 1, 2, and 3. I like the Suns to cover the first half spread minus 3.5 because they're playing at home, and I think they're just going to go off. And everyone has to shoot better this game. If they don't, I would be shocked, but I feel like you have to. Been waiting for FanDuel to get our mobile sportsbook action going. Mississippi FanDuel's not allowing sportsbook. Yeah, it's really unfortunate if you live in a state. Your only option is to really move at this point. Great, you have casinos, but honestly, I wish that everybody could just have it in all states and we could all be talking about the same thing sometimes. What is double result? Result for each half. Yes, exactly. Zooming in on that there. Ooh, someone's screaming outside. I'm sorry if you can hear that through my mic. All right, so we have 1485. So right now, 10 would win 148. And honestly, me throwing in a first basket is the most insane thing. But we're trying to beef up these same game parlays. We're trying to have fun with this. I kind of mentioned the assist. We could, I don't want to add that in there, minus 160 something. Let's see. Can you guys write in and comment below some of the ones that you guys liked? Is there any player props that you're definitely taking for tonight, whether that's on some of the more popular people like Devin Booker? See, this is what I'm banking on him to make over 1.5 made threes, but at minus 178, you'll see if you add this into your same game parlay. 1485 right now. It doesn't really do crazy much. We're adding in more legs, but you'd think that would, why don't we just throw it in there? Why the hell not? Reggie Jackson rebounds. I don't want to take over plus money. Let's see. Chris Paul assist. I'm going to go over 9.5. He's kind of been going off in terms of that. He's had some double-digit assists in the games he's played so far, the 2 games. All right, so this is an example of one. I'm not saying go and put a ton of money on this one because, again, I put in the first basket score, which is absolutely insane of me to do. But there you have it. 8 in first basket, Suns 11 plus Phoenix Suns. Devin Booker over 1.5 made 3. Chris Paul over 9.5 assist. $10, $4.71. $5, $2.35. Put $1 on it, $47.17. So there you have it, you guys. And you can go on the FanDuel Sportsbook right now and make your own same game parlay, unique to FanDuel. Very, very much fun. All right, PG rebounds and Zubac is out, but who knows how much Zubac will actually get. Yeah, so that's another thing. Even though that they're obviously ruling him right now questionable, and I mentioned sometimes teams do this to kind of mess with everybody, but obviously is an MCL sprain, so this could be more serious. He could go out there, play for 2 minutes, and then be like, I'm in so much pain, I can't play. Or he could go out, play through it, and be fine. You just honestly never know. So kind of staying away from his player props would be understandable. But since all of them are still up on the FanDuel Sportsbook, I have a lot of faith and hope that he's going to be playing much of this game. And in terms of his player props, they haven't shifted drastically. So if you think he's going to be exceptionally injured in this game and not play as many, just start finding him and taking the under on everything is what I would do right now. All right, guys, we have 4 more minutes. Let's see if we get any more questions. Again, Game 5, Western Conference Finals. Suns could win it all and go to the NBA Finals for the first time, 1993, which would be pretty insane. And the Clippers are in a do-or-die situation. Look at this. Line shifted while I'm on here. We have the total up from 211 to 213. And the Suns moving out to -6. So let's see where the money has shifted now. Wow, 89% of the money is on the Phoenix Suns to win tonight, but obviously not great value on the money line. 58% of the money on the Phoenix Suns to cover. So everything's starting to shift around a lot. And like I mentioned, when the total keeps coming down and you keep it's because obviously people are betting it down for taking the under. At some point, people start betting the over, which is what I mentioned. So that actually did move back up to 213. So yeah, guys, Game 5, very exciting stuff. Lines are already moving, consistently moving. Like I mentioned on the money line, -250 for the Suns. You're not going to want to take that. So unless you have a crazy parlay that I assume you're just throwing them in. And then in terms of the series odds, you could bet on the Clippers to come back 14-1. I don't advise doing that because I think the Suns are going to be able to close it out. If Kawhi Leonard was playing, this would be a totally different conversation, but it seems like that's kind of closed up there. As for the Bucks, just quickly mentioning the other game because obviously if the Suns win tonight, they'll be playing the Hawks or the Bucks. Hawks right now +870. Again, you have your boost here. You have the team futures, Bucks -110, Suns +100, Hawks 32-1, Clippers 32-1 as well. And then you have the player futures. You could also still bet on the NBA Finals MVP. Everybody at plus money right now, so you better hop on that before we know who's playing in the NBA Finals and you won't get as great of a value. Jackie Moon, I feel like you are my number one commenter. Had a parlay of Bucks last night and Clippers today. Nothing major, but a little payout at least if it hits. Good. Everybody should be doing parlays. They're very much fun. I think they're the most fun part of betting in general because it's fun when you have straight bets, but when you have parlays, it just makes it so much more fun. And when you win one, it's probably 10 times more fun than a straight bet. But all right, guys. Well, Game 5 will be going on tonight. Suns laying 6 right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook, total 213. We looked at the money in terms of the spread, the money line, the total. I also went through some of the trends that are going on in terms of spread and the total. Gave you some player props that I liked. You can also do the same game parlay as well as the odd boosts that are available right now. Again, we have Dr. Disrespect Super Boost and Paul George to score 35 plus points. Both these are available right now. Very good value. And then as I mentioned before, in case you haven't noticed, if you just see the boost tab, you can also hit the promotions. Tell your family, friends, everybody else. There's some of these right here. NBA risk-free same game parlay and NBA playoffs enhanced odds for new customers. So definitely things to take advantage of right now in the FanDuel Sportsbook. And aside from that, We also have NHL games today, soccer games, so much MLB. So we will be back on tomorrow. Jim Sands will come on at 4 o'clock. I will then come on again at 4:30. We'll be talking all things NBA. In terms of the Bucks and the Hawks right now, the Hawks getting 7 points in the total at 219.5. And I'm sure by tomorrow, all of those things will have shifted. But I will see you guys tomorrow again, 4:30 to 5 p.m. Eastern, right here on Twitch, YouTube, everything for the FanDuel Sportsbook. Have a great day.